Everyone. Welcome to Creation with Akia. I am Akia Azula, and I want to talk to you about something that came to my attention a couple of weeks ago. A friend called me up. She was a bit upset, and she was asking me, "Can you take a look at this video for me and tell me your opinion?" So it took me a few days. I got around to the video, and that's why I came up with this particular talk tonight. We want to know, we really want to know, is Beyonce demonic? So after looking at this video, I watched it a couple more times because I really want to get a sense of what this person was actually saying. The argument was that if you go to a Beyonce concert, chances are you will pick up a demon because her concert is demonic. So I looked at the argument and I'm like, "Mm, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know you know, if that's what I would classify as demonic." Now, you may say, why would you have any say on whether something is demonic or not? And I could tell you this about myself. For over 40 years, I've been working with people and helping them to heal from many, many different things in their life. One of the things that I can do, which is part of my spiritual gift, is that I could discern spirits. It's a spiritual gift, discernment of spirits. So I could tell whether or not someone has a demonic spirit or some other type of attachment on them or not. And not only can I discern whether or not someone has a demonic attachment or another type of entity, I can also cast out the demon from the person. So this is just my spiritual gifts. People have many different types of spiritual gifts. This is mine. So for over 40 years, I've been helping people with this. So when the question is Beyonce demonic? My question is, hmm, what are you basing it on? So I not only watched this video, I watched several other videos on the same topic, stating that Beyonce was demonic. And I said, you know, they haven't really made a really good argument to say someone is demonic. Because for me, what I know, and from my experience, years of experience, I know that demons cause harm. That is one of the most clear signs and symptoms of someone having demonic possession. The person will become violent. They may try to harm others or themselves. They will have very bizarre behaviors. Some of the behaviors might mimic things like mental health breakdowns. These are the ways that you could tell that someone has some kind of demonic possession because you would actually see signs and symptoms. The person would become afflicted. So the question is, if going to a Beyonce concert will get you afflicted with demons, then there should be some real world evidence of this. So what I did, I said, well, let me go and check. Beyonce has done her concert to about 2.2 million people to date. She's done these concerts in Europe and in the US. You would think that with 2.2 million people going to this concert, I was looking at maybe a 1% chance of people becoming afflicted with demons after going to her concert. And so I said, let me check some statistics on that. So I would expect to see an increase in crime, specifically violent crimes. There should be an increase in admissions to mental institutions or hospitals. And there should be more cases reported of people trying to do self harm or harming others, and just outright bizarre behaviors would be reported, you would think. So that 2.2 million is what we in science and in medicine call a great sample size. But when I went and did the research on it, guess what I found? Zero, nilch, absolutely nothing. I couldn't find a single reported case that someone attended a Beyonce concert, left her concert, and got afflicted by demons. So I looked and I started to compare. And I said, okay, is there any cases of people going to a large event and some harm coming to them? And the only thing I could think about was January the 6th. It was a large gathering of over 10,000 people. And before you get it twisted, I am not saying that Donald Trump is demonic. He is not. Let me repeat myself. Donald Trump is not demonic. He may have some other issues going on, but being demonic is not one of them. But I looked at it through the lens of doing harm. So the people that attended this event, a few people lost their lives. There was massive amounts of violence. You have over 1,000 people have been arrested. Some of these people are being incarcerated for up to 2 decades. People have lost their businesses, their jobs, became estranged from their families, and lost their freedom. And at 10,000, over 1,000 being arrested, that's at least 10% of that cohort, that group. So I start looking at it and I'm saying, even though this happened and we could call it harm, it is still not demonic. I would not sit here and tell you that the people from January 6th or Donald Trump is demonic. That would be absolutely ludicrous for me to say that. But I'm comparing it to Beyonce, who has a very large gathering also. But other than people are singing and dancing and having a good time and enjoying themselves, I am not seeing any harm being done. This incident, there was harm being done, but it wasn't demonic. The only thing that made me think a little bit like, ooh, that is weird, was, hearing that like people were, somebody smeared, or I don't know whether it was someone or people smeared poop on the wall. And I'm thinking, ew. Now, that might be something that you may see when someone is under a demonic possession or oppression. You might see them with that type of behavior, but still, that's not demonic. I just figured that person must be a degenerate or not very mentally sound to do that in broad daylight in a large crowd. I mean, putting poop on the wall, that makes no sense, but it's still not demonic. So, the first thing I saw in this video I was watching, the person kept saying that when you go to the concert, the reason why you could get an affliction from a demon is that there's this portal, and the portal is where spirits go in and out of this portal, and you're getting sucked into this portal. And I'm like, oh, there's a portal. I'm just looking at this video. So I don't know anything because, like I said, my kids are into Beyonce. That's how I really know about Beyonce because my kids like Beyonce. So I know that a portal basically means a door. It's a specific doorway. And I'm going to have you all guys take a look at this thing. Now, a portal is not only a doorway, because you walk in and out of portals all day, because a door is a portal. What we're talking about specifically is a spiritual portal. And a spiritual portal is like a gateway where spirits go in and out of. They go in and out of worlds and in and out of different realms through portals. So there is such a thing as a spiritual portal. So take a quick and I look at this portal or this big circular thing on the stage, I'm looking at it and I begin to laugh to myself. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. You think any spirit, much less any demon, is going to go close to that thing? That thing is so bright, so busy, so loud. There's so much electromagnetic energy coming off of that thing. That thing got like a gazillion million watt bulbs on it. There are lasers, there are lights flashing, there are things spinning around. Trust me on this one. No entity or demon will go anywhere near that portal. You know why? Because they don't like to be in all these bright places. When I have gone to people's houses and I have cleared entities from their homes, they're not in the middle of their dining room table hanging off the chandelier. They are in a dark corner. These things, they prefer dark, isolated, secluded, deserted places. That's where you'd usually find them. You're not going to find them in a place or in a thing that has like a gazillion lights going, doing all kind of crazy motions. That's not at all where they will be. So I'm like looking at myself, and once I saw what they meant by portal, I said to myself, you know what? We used to have a saying, and we used to say, that person is talking out the side of their mouth. And what we meant by that is that they didn't know what they were talking about. Now, when you are in a profession, whether you're an engineer, whether you're in the medical profession, whether you're in the music profession, whether you're a lawyer, because of your profession and your experience, when someone comes along and says something that you know that doesn't work that way, because demons are not attracted to bright lit places. Have you ever seen a super bright haunted house? No, they're all dark and gloomy and doomy. That's what they look like. They do not, they're not like that thing on that stage at all. As a matter of fact, I might call that a demon repellent, as bright as that thing is. They're not looking to go up in something that bright with all that electrical energy shooting off of it. So The only people that I feel that should be cautious about that big circular portal on the stage is maybe someone with epilepsy, because that could trigger them, or someone who is um, sensitive to electromagnetic frequencies. Other than that, there is no demon that's going to go up on this portal thing. The next point that the person made is that Beyonce has a coven because she's demonic, so she must be a witch. I couldn't really follow the argument because I'm thinking coven, and what do you mean? Coven is like a small group of people, specifically in the Wicca religion. They're just a small group of people. They normally not very big, and they usually have the max of about 12 to 13 people. And I kept wondering why 12 or 13 people. And then I said, well, 12 might be astrological for the 12 planets, or 12 might, and or 13 might be symbolic of 12 disciples plus Jesus makes 13 people. So they normally are a small gathering of people. What I couldn't understand, however, who was the coven? Is it the audience that bought their ticket to go? Are they the coven? Are the beehive the coven? Or are the performers on stage, are they the coven? I just couldn't make sense, like, because I kept thinking, like, who's the coven? So that was never explained. But they did explain that when a coven gets too big, it becomes a hive. And Beyonce's, I guess her fan club, they are called the Beehive. So that association with a large coven and a hive and the beehive must mean something. It This is the smoking gun. It must mean something. And so I've never even heard the term hive before. So I went in and I looked it up. Now, Beyonce called the beehive because, she's the queen bee and they're her fans. So they're the hive, and you have the hive and the queen bee. So I realized it's just a play on words. I don't really take much stock in someone coming up with names. There was Angelina and or Bradgelina or something, or Benifer, or we're always coming up with these names that we put names together. So there's nothing new about that. So I did go and do a little bit of research to find out what this hive thing was all about. Because first, I'm not a witch. I don't study anything about the Wicca religion. So I don't know. Like I said, I was clueless. I went and I found out about the hive. And I'll tell you what I found out about this hive. So the hive isn't that you have a coven, which is a small group, and it grows into a hive. You have a coven that's a small group, and I don't know the reason, but they prefer to stay small. And when the group gets too big, it splinters off and they form a separate coven. And when that one gets too big, it splinters off and they form another coven. But they don't all come together like hundreds of thousands of people in a room and be a coven together, and then they call themselves a hive. It's actually a hive is a splintering off of the coven, not a larger gathering of a coven. So her explanation of that, I feel, was possibly deceptive. Because that's truly not what a hive is. So when I look at this, I say, if the question is Beyonce demonic? I haven't seen any proof of it yet, but I have some other things that I want to say. But before I go any further, I would like to ask you to be so kind to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone you think it will be informative to. So the next thing I look at, if people are not getting possessed from being in a Beyonce concert, where do people get possessed? Where do people normally pick up spiritual attachments? And what I have found in my years and years and years of experience is this: the places that you're most likely to get a spiritual attachment are bars, scenes of accidents, hospitals, battlegrounds, and churches. Those are the places that you're most likely to pick up an entity. So, bars, people get drunk, they pass out, they leave their body temporarily, and something jumps in. So, that's what normally happens a lot of times when I have helped to clear people. That's where they picked it up. Another place is hospitals, scenes of accidents, and battlegrounds. There are many people who have recently died, suddenly died. These people do not know that they're dead yet. They have been shot out of their body so suddenly that they're unaware. So the fact that they don't realize that they're dead, they wander around and then they attach to people who are have like a similar type of resonance or energy like theirs. That's what happens to them. But it's not that they're possessed. So you may ask me, you said churches. Churches is a hotbed of spiritual activity. One of the things that I have noticed, I went to this church once, a friend invited me, and this lady, she was very famous for getting rid of demons off of people. So I went to the church and I noticed, yes, she was actually getting these demons off of people. She was good at her work. The only problem that I saw was when these demons came off of that person and she was delivering a lot of people. When those demons came off of that person, they just floated over and jumped into someone else that was in that audience, that was in that congregation. And I'm looking at this whole thing and I'm going like, this is madness. Does she not see that when she clears it off of this person over here, it just goes over and go into someone else? Does she not see that? And I'm thinking to myself, how, how, I don't get it. How, to me, it was just irresponsible, like malpractice. It was irresponsible. How are you going to clear a demon off of someone? You know, that's why in the Bible, it says that when Jesus exorcised all those demons off of that person, he sent them into a bunch of pigs because they had to go somewhere. That's part of it. So I don't know how you're just letting demons loose amongst the publics. To me, that's very, very irresponsible. That's just messy work. So then when I look at all of this and I say churches, are usually a hotbed of spiritual activities like this because this is going on in churches all over, and people are not managing this very well. So while I was going through this research, I came across this one minister who his title was Getting Rid of Demons. So I said, okay, I'm doing this research on demons. Let me look a little bit more. And I watched the video, and I had a good laugh watching his video. The video was fine, and his heart was in the right place, but he was talking about going to Brazil and how he couldn't keep an interpreter. He said it's the hardest thing in Brazil to keep an interpreter. When you got a good interpreter, make sure you hold on to them because they are really hard to keep. And then he starts telling this story. I kid you not. He starts telling you this story of how when he starts to deliver people and cast the demons out of them, the Brazilian interpreter's like, I'm out. I'm not hanging around for this. I'm out. And why are they out? Because they know better. They know that when you pull that thing off of that person, it needs to go somewhere. And I'm not going to be the one that it goes into. So the interpreters are like, I'm out. I'm out of here. And he's like, I don't know why they won't stay. And I try to tell them that they're okay. And they're like, I'm good. I'm out. So when I look at all of that and I say to myself, I say, wow, you're thinking that you're in this third world country. And unfortunately, the image that we have of people in these poorer countries, because they're not as economically vibrant as our country. So we're given this image of them that they are not the smartest people in the world. But these people are smart enough to know, like, no, we don't not hang around with demons being thrown off of other people. They have sense enough to know that. So when this minister is trying to figure out why aren't they hanging around, they're not hanging around because they know better. So this is really, really a funny thing. So then the other thing is that when we talk about churches, I found out from doing this, I found out that one of the videos that I watched, the person was saying that Beyonce is demonic because people worship her. There's a church, a Beyonce church. And so I've never heard of a Beyonce church. I didn't know. Did you know? Put it in the comments. Did you know there's such a thing as a Beyonce church? I didn't know. So this is interesting. There is a church in San Francisco where they have a Beyonce mass. And I looked it up and I said, okay, what's this church all about? So this church, they have this particular mass because they want to empower Black women. They want to empower them in their lives, empower their voices, empower them around their beauty, their bodies. And they look at Beyonce as an aspirational figure for that. I don't really see anything wrong with that. Do you? I mean, if there is a church where Black women are made to feel better about themselves, what's wrong with it? There's also a church in Atlanta. It's called the National Church of Bay, or B, B-E-Y, B or Bay, however you say that. There is a church in Atlanta that also. But if it is to empower Black women and give them a better sense of self, I don't really see anything wrong with it. So if you do, put it in the comments and let me know why, because I can't see anything wrong with that. The other problem that this person found with Beyonce was that she dressed herself as a goddess, specifically the Madonna. And this person felt like that was very sacrilegious for her to do. So I went and I remembered that. I remember that performance when she dressed up like a goddess. She was pregnant. And so when you think of a pregnant woman and she's feeling that, this is something divine, this is something wonderful. I'm growing a life in my body and I'm bringing forth life into the world through my body. And you're a pregnant woman and you're feeling your divinity, your feminine divinity with that. I don't know if that's what I would call demonic because she feels that way. But she has a right to feel that way, doesn't she? Let me know in the comments whether or not you feel, does a pregnant woman have the right to show up as a Madonna? And she shared a photo shoot. And I remember her sharing the photo shoot. And it was very beautiful photos. These were her pregnancy photos. She didn't have to share them with the world, but she chose to share them with the world. And I really think her motivation, because she's a very private person, outside of her performance, she is extremely private. And I really feel that she shared her pregnancy photos because when she had her first child, there were all these rumors that she didn't have a child or she had a surrogate. And, there was a lot of rumors disparaging her about giving birth to her child. So I really feel that her, I don't know, you call them publicists, handlers, don't know the name for what you would call it, probably said, you're pregnant this time, maybe have some images of yourself. And she did them in a very artistic, very beautiful, very aesthetic way to display her pregnancy to the world because she didn't do that with her first pregnancy because that, let's face it, that is her business. She does not have to share her pregnancy with the world. She does not have to share images of her pregnancy with the world. But I really believe that to squash rumors, they probably felt that it would be better if she shows her pregnancy, and she decided to do it in this fashion. So this person that I was listening to their video because this was the reason for her to be demonic. She is demonic because she had on a costume on stage that made her look like the Madonna. So I want you to. So this image of her looking like the Madonna, there is sacrilegious. Now, this was a non-melanated man saying this. It's sacrilegious for her. Like, how dare she dress and put on images that look like the Madonna? And I show you that picture because there are tons, hundreds of Black Madonnas all over the world, from the Vatican to Russia to all throughout Europe, North Africa, South America. There are Black Madonnas everywhere. So to look at her and say, how dare she personate or try to be the personification of the Madonna? And because she did that and it's so sacrilegious, that's what makes her demonic. That's a dumb argument. Number one, she's a performer, she's an entertainer. She did a piece and she wore a costume. Come on, folks. We can't be going that far. She's a performer, entertainer who wears costumes while she entertains. When she got off the stage, she had on regular clothes. She didn't walk around in her costume. So, if that's a valid reason to call someone a Madonna because she wants to express the divine feminine that she's feeling within herself at the time of her pregnancy, and she wants to express that, instead of us celebrating and saying, that's a wonderful thing. Bringing life in the world is a wonderful thing. It's miraculous. Instead of us saying that, we disparage her because she put on a costume. So, is a costume demonic? No, absolutely not. That's not demonic. So, my question is why? Why are people so keen on tearing down Beyonce by saying things like she's demonic or it's the Illuminati? Like she didn't work hard. She doesn't put in, who puts in 16, 18-hour days? Who puts in months on end to put together a performance? Rehearsal after rehearsal. Who goes from city to city and perform for 3 hours straight? Instead of us saying that, oh, this lady works hard. She has a lot of business acumen and she's a strong woman. Instead of us saying those things about her, you know what we do instead? We disparage her, we defame her, we call her demonic, and we say the only way she is famous or have reached the level she has is because she belongs to some secret society. Like give me a break. Secret societies have been around forever. There are the Skulls and Bones. There are the Masons. There are the Bilderberg Society. There are the Illuminati. They've been around forever. And predominantly, who have been in these societies, rumors have been they have been presidents, leaders of industry, educators, religious leaders, judges. These are people that have been rumored to be part of these societies. And so you're telling me that this woman who's been working her butt off to perfect her craft and raise the bar on the level of performance she gives, the only way that she's successful is because she belongs to some secret society or she's somehow worshiping the devil. Like I'm like looking at this and we're saying all of this stuff with absolutely no proof. That's the other part that gets to me. There's no proof to any of this. So the reason why I feel that she gets disparaged is number one, you have haters. Haters are people that are just jealous and envious of someone else's success. So the only thing they could do is tear down that person because they feel bad about the fact that they're not successful. The other reason for this is that just pure greed, clickbait. You're chasing clout. People have their platforms. I know that if I put Beyonce on that platform, it's going to blow up. I'm going to get a lot of views. So clickbait and clout chasing is the next reason. And the most predominant reason, the top reason for people disparaging and defaming her is good old fashioned misogyny. Now, when I say misogyny, It's a specific type of misogyny. This type of misogyny, and let me show you this. So this type of misogyny, they call it misogynoir. It's basically a dislike, prejudice, and towards Black women. So people would actually go and defame her rather than give her credit for who she is. Now, when we talk about demonic, I had to look because I remember, and I remember watching some of the services. I remember Kanye had a church at one point, and Kanye would say things like, I am God. And they even have what they call the Book of Jesus, which was a book that had Kanye, was edited to put Kanye as God in this Bible. So I'm looking at all of this and I'm saying to myself, I said, huh, when Kanye had that church, did anybody call him demonic? I went and I looked that up too. And he was never, ever thought to be demonic. He was actually thought to be a genius. So when Malcolm X said that the Black woman is the most disrespected woman in America, or person, not even woman, just person in America, I could definitely agree with him because misogyny is running rampant. If Beyonce was a man, if she was a man, especially, let's say she was a non melanated man, she would be celebrated for her business genius, her hard work. People will be talking about her on business stations and channels, business magazines. She'll be invited to come and speak at business events because if she was a male, they would look at what she does as remarkable, impressive. She is projected to make about $2 billion from this concert she's doing. You think someone making $2 billion on a tour is not something to talk about? The amount of awards that she has won in her industry is not something to talk about and celebrate her for it, but instead, no, she must be demonic. That's what we're told. I mean, when you look at it, it's the craziest thing in the world. How in the world could this woman be demonic? And she has done so much things. And even though Malcolm X said that the Black woman is the most disrespected person in America, I would really change it to she's the most disrespected person in the world. Many people, including the late Kevin Samuels and men like that, have used women, specifically Black women, to build their platforms and to profit off of. The Black woman is normally told that she is unattractive and undesirable. Yet, and I say yet, people that do not look like her are copying her hairstyles, injecting their lips to look like hers, putting in implants in their butts to have a similar body like hers. So, what I say, if you are so unattractive and you are so undesirable, then why are other women paying a lot of money to look like you, sound like you, dress like you, talk like you, and even try to darken their complexion like you? So both of these things cannot be true. You have to realize as a Black woman, you have a lot of value. So many people profit off of you. But you, as a Black woman, have not seen your value. I think the difference with Beyonce is that she sees her value. And in the world of misogyny, we cannot have that. We cannot have all these women running around thinking they could be all that and all powerful and, you know, make all these decisions and make all this amount of money and do all these things and influence all these people. We cannot do that. We need to shut that down. So the so we're going to shut it down by disparaging her, defaming her, calling her all kind of things that she just isn't. And people will say to me, you know, well, Black women say that about Beyonce. And I'm like, yeah, that's old. That's really old. If you want to put someone in their place, you want to shut somebody down, you want to defame them, you want to disparage them, but you don't look like them, you have to get somebody that look like them to do that. So I don't know if most of you, and put in a comment if you saw this and remember this. This Supreme Court Judge Kavanaugh, when he was going up for, I guess, his nomination, he was accused of sexual assault. So this white woman, she comes to the court and she's, poor me, he assaulted me, and she's crying. And there were these white men sitting on a bench that were supposed to challenge her. They said, we're going to break for the day. And the next day, what did they get? They got a white female lawyer to question her. Why? Because the optics were bad. We cannot sit here as a group of men questioning a woman who says she was sexually assaulted. And on top of that, she's doing one of the most precious things that move this country, white women's tears. She is crying. And that is a powerful thing, white women's tears. So you cannot question her. We've got to get somebody that looks like her to assassinate her. And that's all that is. So when you see other Black women disparaging and assassinating the character of other Black women, it has nothing to do with that there's no such thing as misogyny or misogynoir, this hatred towards Black women. It has nothing to do with that. Because you have to remember, all skin folk is not kinfolk. And that's what that means. All skin folk is not kinfolk. So my final assessment is this. Beyonce, she is not demonic. No one I mentioned in here, Trump, Kanye, people from January 6th, none of them are demonic either. But I could absolutely say that Beyonce is not demonic. You may not like her music, you may not like her, you may not like what she stands for or represents. She is a powerful Black woman that knows her value and knows her worth and stands tall in this world. She is that, but demonic, Absolutely not. So if you like this video, I'm actually going to do a part two for this video to look at some other aspects and some other thoughts that I had about it. So stay tuned. I am going to upload that other video later today, and just hang in there. And I want to thank you for your attention. And I also want to remind you, if you love this content, you like it, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much.